Welcome to Creating Calm Parenting with Mind, Body, and Spirit. I'm Corinne Cayce, your co-host. I'm an integral leadership coach, a mother of two, and a lifelong student of the Edgar Cayce readings. And I am here with my friend and co-host, Arlene.
Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene DiJamco. I'm an integrative physician, a pediatrician, a cranial osteopath, and a mom of four. And we are so happy and honored to be able to bring this episode to you today because we are going to go over prayer, how to pray effectively. We're going to go through examples from the readings. We're going to go over how Cayce defines prayer and how you can integrate this into your life more seamlessly. The reason why I wanted to do this topic today is because I've just come from this beautiful summit on grief, and we commonly talked about like how important it was to pray. And I think that's something that many people know. But then even hearing that, I was looking at all these faces and seeing people just looking for even more. Like they know they're supposed to pray, but it's almost like how and why, and why isn't it working, or why am I not feeling it? So we're going to break down what prayer means based on the Cayce readings and go through those details so that you can use prayer more effectively in your lives. So to help us set that foundation, Corinne is going to open us up with our opening meditation.
Yes, thank you, Arlene. So let's just take a moment to center ourselves. If you can close your eyes, you are welcome to, or you can just let your attention turn inward. Take a moment to just take stock of your being. Notice the way that your physical body feels right now. Any places of tightness or discomfort, any places of ease or relief. Just notice with curiosity and neutrality what it feels like to be in your physical body. And now notice your mind and your heart. If you're having thoughts, notice what your thought patterns are like. Is your mind jumping around, diving deeply? Is it quiet? Notice your attitude, your feelings, what it feels like to be you right now, your mood. And now let yourself find that still, quiet place within you that's always right there. And let yourself be present with that. All right, thank you. So as Arlene said, today we're talking about prayer and how to pray specifically. Prayer and meditation are talked about like two wings of a bird in the Edgar Cayce readings. I think in current culture, modern times, meditation is becoming an easier and easier sort of non-denominational body-mind wellness tool that has scientific backing to prove its effectiveness. And prayer remains largely religious, less and less, hopefully, as we begin to work with energy healing and the connection power of our thoughts to impact each other. But I think Arlene and I are really interested in moving prayer into a space that's normalized and naturalized and put to use in our lives as a really powerful and effective way of inviting health, growth, transformation, and connecting with ourselves and each other in ways that invite positive change. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and I can't wait to dive in. To get started, I'll start, as we always do, with an excerpt from the Edgar Cayce readings. So our excerpt from the Edgar Cayce readings today comes from 281.13. In the 281 series is the group of readings that was given for the prayer group, the healing prayer group, that was a branch off of the first study group that was studying how to live a spiritual life, how to live a meaningful life, how to become more psychic and awakened with Edgar Cayce during the final years of his life. So this comes from reading 281.13, and it says, Prayer is the concerted effort of the physical consciousness to become attuned to the consciousness of the Creator, either collectively or individually. Meditation is emptying of self of all that hinders the creative forces from rising along the natural channels of the physical man to be disseminated through those centers and sources that create the activities of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual man. Properly done, must make one stronger mentally, physically. All right, so let's begin there with noticing the way that prayer and meditation are talked about together. And maybe we can begin, Arlene, with noticing what the difference is between prayer and meditation as it's talked about in the readings here.
I love how that excerpt clearly defines like prayer and meditation, and to emphasize prayer as this conscious effort. And then in that excerpt, it also said the physical consciousness to be able to like feel the prayer, to attune yourself to the creative forces. And then it goes hand in hand with meditation. So as you attune yourself to the creative forces, that's your request, that's your ask, and then when you're meditating, it's clearing those channels so you can receive the answers, so you can hear what the creative forces have to say through you, to you. And I feel like that's really beautiful. Like listening to that excerpt, I feel like you can't really have prayer without meditation, or
Yeah,
meditation without prayer. Like they have to go together.
right. And I've often heard students of the readings talk about prayer as talking with the creative forces or God, and meditation as listening to the creative forces or God. So there's like often if we have meditation come first, or quiet or stillness, can kind of attune, listen, get still, put down our busyness. And then there's the invitation to begin to speak, that this isn't a passive process, not that we necessarily need to speak out loud, but that begin to be in relationship, to be talking with and in communication with the creative forces, the creative energies that are present in our life. And this is, in some ways, I think, intimidating for us because it implies that there really is no separation. There's no gate or blockway between us and our ability to be in relationship with this energy of goodness and love and healing that is within and around us all the time. So prayer is kind of this powerful tool, really, and that we need to have the confidence to kind of step into, to say, this is what I'm inviting forward. This is what I'm longing for. This is this is what I'm asking for. And then listening, going back into meditation to listen for the guidance that arises in that relationship, that discourse that's taking place. Yeah.
I like how you said you could start with meditation and then prayer, because the way you were describing it, I was like, oh, this is a dialogue. This is a conversation, but
Yeah.
not just a thinking conversation. It's a dialogue on all dimensions. So including all aspects of our being, our physical, our mental, our spiritual part of our beings. And when you see it as this interaction, it starts to have this aliveness to it. Like it's not static. It's not a one-way thing. It really is a relationship, and you can nurture that relationship. And it's really what helps us feel alive as well,
Absolutely.
to
And
have that
so
dialogue.
in this definition from the excerpt of 281:13, it says, prayer is the concerted effort of the physical consciousness to become attuned to the consciousness of the Creator. So you've touched on like that physical consciousness aspect. There's this effort of our physical consciousness, of our like conscious mind, to become attuned to the consciousness, to the energetic mind of the Creator. So that attunement I also wanted to touch on, because I think in the Edgar Cayce readings, this is a this is a really important thing, the process of attunement. What are you attuning to? How do you attune? What does that mean? And how is that part of the definition of what it means to be able to pray in a way that invites you into more of who you know yourself to be? So when I hear the word attunement in this context and in the Edgar Cayce readings, it's a pause to reflect on the direction in which you want to be moving and what your greatest source of power and energy and safety is. So it's in the readings, it's talked about as setting an ideal, which we talk about all the time too. We're just taking a moment to really remember, because sometimes we get moving so quickly and we have these ideas that are impressed upon us about what prayer should look like or what we should be doing. But it's asking us to pause and remember, where am I going? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? What am I longing for in my life? So it's a remembering of whatever is true for you in this moment. It can be that I want to be living from a place of love, that I'm asking for healing and looking for healing, that I want to be of service, that I'm seeking kindness and gentleness, that I'm looking for relief from suffering. It's like a remembering of, why am I moving in the direction that I am, and how can I connect to that, and then allow my body and my conscious mind to connect to that kind of spiritual source. And that's what attunement means to me, which happens very naturally. We want to do it. Human beings want to do it, and we know how to do it. We just have to remember to do it.
That harmonizing with that divine love and wisdom.
Absolutely. Harmonizing. So beautiful, Arlene. Thank you.
And then it went on to talk about like how to get the most out of that meditation, where it's mentioned to cleanse the body, quiet the mind.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about, what does that mean to cleanse the body? And it can mean so many things. Like we were talking about, Corinne, it could be literally mean, taking a bath, taking a shower, or with the act of washing your hands and making it something sacred. Or maybe using some essential oils, or eating well, like attuning by like removing. It says to empty of distraction, so eating well so you don't have the distraction of foods or things that would cause you to numb out and not be able to harmonize or attune with the creative forces well.
Right, absolutely. So the invitation in the Edgar Cayce readings to begin meditation and prayer time by cleansing the body, the mind, that is, in some ways, I think about it as like we're letting the body know and the mind know, especially because the mind can be so restless and focused on, what do I need to do now? This is what we're headed into. Like, these are the kind of rituals and preparations that we're making so that the body and mind will relax and say, oh, it's like when we're getting our kids ready to go to bed, right? We often have like a bedtime routine or a morning routine that kind of tells us this is what we're headed toward, right? We brush our teeth, we take a shower, we put in our pajamas, we read stories, we drink some tea, we say our prayers. This is all cueing the body and mind up to, we're about to relax and be able to get a good night's sleep. In the same way, cleansing the body and the mind can be the preparation for, oh, what are you getting ready to do? Oh, I'm washing my hands in this way. I'm lighting this incense. I'm burning this candle. I'm doing these stretches. I'm like eating these foods in this way, or drinking. I'm preparing to do this thing that's sacred and important, and I can relax. My body and mind can relax into this. Likewise, as we get started with our meditation and prayer time, we can do simple mindfulness activities to cleanse the mind. Or like, lots of times the mind is very busy when we're first starting to try and meditate, thinking of all the things that you've been forgetting or that you need to remember to do, or what you're frustrated about, so we can do simple breathing or mindfulness, where we just count up to 10 quietly for a number of times, just to help the mind. It's like calming a nervous horse, like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what's going on. Everything's okay. you're safe here. Like, you can relax. This is what we're getting ready to do. We're about to enter into this sacred temple of relationship with the creative forces, and you can feel safe and at ease. You know what's coming.
Mm-hmm. And we thought that the readings had such beautiful examples of what to say, because that's a common question. What do I say? And so Corinne and I are going to each read a sample from the readings of a prayer that you can use regularly for yourselves. So this is one from reading 264-42, and it says, "Have your own way with me, and let my desires and my meditations give praise to you for those opportunities and privileges you, O God, have granted in this experience. And may I use those opportunities and experiences for the glorification of your activity in the earth, rather than for my own."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's another one from reading 899-1, and it says, "Raise thou, O God, in this body that which is the best as thou seest fit, that there may be the harmony that comes in your love for this soul." Yeah. So the essence, let's just distill down the essence here, because I think the most important thing with having powerful prayers, sometimes we get, they're given to us by teachers or by religion or by books that we read, any sort of spiritual teachings that are moving for us. We can get prayers from that. But at its essence, we're looking for that which we're longing for that is most good in us. And there's a sense of surrender and trust and faith and asking for something that you're longing for. So, yeah.
And there are so many themes in the Cayce readings on how to pray effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main ones is that you have to live as you pray, that our prayers are affected by our attitudes that we hold towards ourselves and others.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the readings, this was from 3976-20, it says, "Do not pray one way and live another. Be consistent, be persistent." And this I find particularly relevant in our times right now, because this reading was done for world affairs at that time. And considering the state of our world right now, that message of do not pray one way and live another.
Right.
And to look at the divisiveness in this world. So we can't think one thing for one group of people and then another for another, that we have to treat all God's children with love, and to make it more, bring it more to harmonious and not divided, because that's what happens when the world feels like it's in chaos, or there are terrible things happening, that things are feeling divided. And that's what I feel like this sentence is saying, is like, do not pray one way and live another. So for your prayer to be even more powerful and more effective, it's you living your prayer. So as you say it, and in your life, you are bringing that prayer to life. You are living, it's a living prayer. It's not passive. You are part of bringing the prayer to fruition. And so whatever your hope is, whatever your desire, whatever it is you're asking for help with, that you're walking through that as if that prayer is being answered, that you're approaching everyone with the same love and kindness, as if everything in your world was already felt, at peace and joyful. So then you're bringing that peace, you're bringing that joy. And it can be really hard when there's a lot going on in the world and terrible things going on in the world. But this brings us back to focus on you live your prayer, and not be focusing on like thinking terrible things about other people, or judging them. If you know the way to live to bring more peace and love, then you be that, and that will be so powerful, combined with your prayer and the ripple effect of your actions. It's it will create miracles all around you.
Right. Yeah, we have been at the A.R.E, which this is an open group and anyone is welcome to join. We've been having for about 3.5 years now, World Affairs, a peace group where we've read through all of these World Affair readings and are now reading more and more readings on peace, how to live peace. And this idea of do not pray one way and live another isn't like, don't pray one way and live another way, or you'll be a bad person. It's literally speaking from the depth to which we've been reading into this. And under my current understanding of it is it's like speaking at a vibratory level. Like this is basically physics. Like your prayer is only as powerful as the embodied way that you've brought those words into manifestation in the physical world. So like it's not like your prayer, your mind is working really hard to try and manifest something. And what makes it manifest is the action in the world. So when we are praying and we're bringing our mental thoughts and attitudes all the time, when we're operating at a certain level, a vibratory level of goodness, that's all of these qualities of Christ consciousness that are talked about in the Edgar Cayce readings of gentleness and patience and long suffering and forgiveness and faith and all of these things. That's creating a vibratory level of consciousness. And then that level impacts everyone around us, and people are able to move to that level because you're operating at that level. So the idea that prayer is something passive is, it's true. Prayer, there is a lot that can be done, and prayer is one of the things that can be done, but that there's actually action involved in it in terms of the capacity that it creates for change, for movement to happen that wouldn't be possible if you weren't bringing your minds and your thoughts and your intentions, you're working with that attunement at that level. So, and that it can be disheartening. I think often this is one of the drawbacks of it is our conscious minds want to see impact really, really quickly. So we think like, oh, I've been praying, I should see, we can take an easy example. I've been praying that, that this leaf would turn red and it's still green. Like it hasn't turned. And I've been praying over it for a week and it hasn't happened yet. Right. And so then we give up and we think, oh, it just doesn't work. My mind isn't that strong. Prayer doesn't really work. This isn't the way that it happens. And this is where the be consistent, be persistent thing comes in, I think, because we have no control over when it will happen, and we should not be disillusioned by not seeing something in the time frame that we imagine it should happen. Sometimes it's instantaneous, and sometimes it takes decades or generations for something to happen, but that in no way means that it's inconsequential or that we should doubt the power of our intention and prayer to be effective.
Mm-hmm. And that state of consciousness brings us to how they speak in the Cayce readings of our prayers ascend to the throne of God, and that we each have a personal angel that actually helps to bring that prayer to God. But they say the throne is not a physical one, but a state of consciousness. And so as our prayers are being elevated to that state of consciousness, to the throne of God, that's the divine love, the divine wisdom, the oneness consciousness. And so that living it out helps to make those prayers, like helps them ascend to the throne of God, to that state of consciousness. So us being conscious of it, before we pray, during the prayer, living the prayer, then that helps in the ascension process. And that's beautiful.
It is.
And it also goes on in the readings to say that we are told often to pray for those that have passed on. And I found this one passage that I would like to read for you. It's from 3954-1, because it's about when two or more come together, but also for praying to and with loved ones that have crossed before us. So it says, yes, pray often for those who have passed on. This is part of your consciousness. It is well, for God is God of the living. Those who have passed through God's other door, often listening for the voices of those they have loved in the earth. And then it goes on later in that excerpt, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in his name, he is in the midst of them. What does this mean? If one is absent from the body, he is present with the Lord. What Lord? If you have been the ideal, that one to whom another would pay homage, you are then something of the channel of the ideal. Then your prayers direct such as one closer to the throne of love and mercy, that pool of light, that river of God. And so when I read this was kind of a revelation for me of what when 2 or more come together means, because I had thought of that before as when 2 or more humans come together in prayer. But when I read this in the context of praying to and praying with those that have passed on, I was like, oh, that is 2 or more souls. So even if you are praying with someone that has already crossed over, then that can still enhance your prayer. So praying to and with those that have passed on is another way to help elevate your prayer. And I think that's remarkable. So it's the same for when 2 or more come together in human form, as we get together in groups and go through meditation and prayer together. But when we also feel alone, and we don't have to be alone, because we can just call on those that have crossed before us, and we can pray for them and we can pray with them. We can have also that dialogue with them. And then we are no longer alone. And that helps to elevate our prayer, helps to make it more effective. And I feel that's remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. Another way of working with prayer that we wanted to be sure to highlight is another pattern talked about in the readings, that it says, pray instead of worry. So why worry when you can pray is a really commonly used phrase from the Edgar Cayce readings. And from reading 3569-1, which was a reading given for a 20-month-old little boy, it says, not that these are to be as worries. This is for his parents. For remember the injunction, never worry as long as you can pray. When you can't pray, you better begin to worry. So this is really a very helpful tool and reminder in working with prayer. Like when we notice as parents, or really anyone who's in relationship with other people, when you notice your mind going into an anxiety loop or a fixed pattern of like, oh God, what if this? And what will I do if this? And what if this happens? And then you can notice, oh, there I am worrying. And then instead of saying, I shouldn't worry, that it doesn't help, that my blood pressure goes up, blah, 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 you can switch your gaze. So turn your attention toward praying instead. And what that means is connecting into, what are you longing for to happen? Like when you say, oh, what if this? What are you afraid of? And then what is the relief to that fear? Not in a purely physical way, like, oh gosh, I hope we get, $3,000 that we need to pay this next bill. Not that way, but the deeper prayer of, may we have what we need to meet the challenges we face before us, cultivating that deeper sense of what is the fear that you're up against and what would relief to that fear look like, and giving voice to that in a way that is positive and affirming and not attached to needing a particular physical outcome to happen. And often when we shift our perspective in that way to working with prayer, I've noticed over the years several things happening within me. One, when I start asking for help in that way, I start thinking of the people in my life who have offered me help and support and love, those who have crossed over and those who are still present in my life, and asking for their help as well with whatever it is that's happening with me. And then the other thing that I've noticed that starts to happen is I move into a place of gratitude. So it's easier for me when I'm in that space. Not even easier, it's natural, like it's instinctual. What starts to happen in my mind is I then am expressing gratitude for the things that I have in my life, for the health that we have, for the goodness that there is, for all of those little things. And I think like that process of both feeling fear, attuning to what relief for that fear would be, that touches into a spiritual ideal or deep place of longing, that transforms into a space of asking for support, of leaning into support, of recognizing the support that you have all around you in different ways, and being able to feel gratitude and appreciate the things in your life that are good is a healing, natural human process for how we deal with things that are scary. So prayer is kind of like this path or this gateway through that process into moving in a place of being in direct relationship with the creative forces, of feeling connected and feeling like you have some power to allow for good things to happen, as opposed to being powerless and kind of like a victim and helpless to your circumstances and whatever they look like.
That's beautiful, Corinne. And I know we had one last excerpt that we wanted to read for all of you to bring everything together. And Corinne, I know you had to explain this one to me, so I would love for you to read that.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to end with this reading, 1472-19, that was given for a 59-year-old woman, and the woman is Julia Chandler, and she was a woman living in the 1930s and 40s and much longer. And in her readings from Edgar Cayce, she was identified as one of as Jesus's primary teachers as part of the Essene community, Judy. And so her readings are often, for me, particularly moving and touching. And it's a beautiful voice that comes through in the Edgar Cayce readings. And this is 1472. And it says, "Then, in this era, this age of changes being wrought, it behooves the entity, as everyone, in its relationships in any manner, to impress upon others in every walk of life, not impelling by force, but by love, to try God, to listen to the voice within, to open self to the love that is manifested in gentleness and kindness, and not to the lust for power, nor to what others may say, but rather keeping in that attitude which he expressed in that period of manifestation when he said, 'Others may do as they may, but as for me, I will serve a living God, not one far off, not one who may not be touched by the infirmities of those who are oppressed and cry unto him. But when you pray, when you cry, that prayer, that cry must be consistent with the life that is lived in relationship to others day by day.'"
That's so beautiful. And the background to that reading is incredible.
Right. And it feels so timely. It feels like it could be a reading that was given this morning for this era, this age of changes being wrought, and of what's needed, what we can do, how we can choose to live each day in spite of, this was given in 1940. So World War II was happening. During Jesus's time, there was all sorts of suffering and fear and pain and darkness that was happening all around. So in any sort of moment that we're living in, there is this, invitation to how, what we can do, how we can connect without any interference to the creative forces that are right there within us all the time.
Yeah. To love, to try God, which also meaning like to try gentleness and kindness, and with ourselves as well as with others, because a lot of times those battles are within ourselves
Absolutely.
of the
Yes.
judgment and, beating yourself up. So to try God also means be kind and gentle to yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you so much for this conversation on prayer. Yeah. Arlene, we're just kind of delving in. I know in our next episode, we're going to have an exciting topic as well that was kind of a follow-up to this one in some ways.
Yes, it's on the borderland, which is the period when someone is crossing over, and particular that immediate time after death, after
Yeah.
the physical human death. And
Yeah.
there are some fascinating topics and concepts from the readings, and we are looking forward to going over that with you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for this conversation today, Arlene. It's always so wonderful to enter into this space of discovery together. And thank you all so much for joining us. We'd love to hear from you always at creatingcalm@edgarcayce.org if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with us.
Thanks, Corinne. Thanks, everyone.